Anthony Scaramucci, who has now broken with President Trump, began to criticize his rhetoric on this program, among others, late last month.
These are racist comments, period, full stop. The fact that we even have to debate it means that the president is in trouble on this.
As Scaramucci escalated his criticism, the president hit back, tweeting that the mooch was totally incapable of handling his White House job, and then with reporters.
I think Anthony is really somebody that's very much out of control. He's a nervous, neurotic wreck. He calls so much, and I said, Anthony, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't take you in. And I said, you got to stop all these phone calls. Too many calls, Anthony.
Joining us now from Long Island is Anthony Scaramucci, who, of course, served briefly as White House Communications Director. And you've largely been defending the president for years. How did you go in a few days from saying Trump needs to tone down his rhetoric to calling him a jackass, crazy, off the rails, narcissistic, and saying the Republicans should dump him in 2020?
Well, I mean, those are probably words that his entire staff is saying about him, but they're just unfortunately not willing to come out in public and say them. And the last thing you saw there with the press spray, you could add that to the Washington Post 10,000 lies. And if any journalist just wants to do this, just go look at the White House phone records. You'll see that I didn't call him that many times. And I'll also point out, haven't given any money to his campaign or asked him for my job back, so he can continue to live in that world of the delusional activity. But
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand why you flip, because you didn't just come out and say I can't support him. You are now basically kind of campaigning against him.
Because he's gone off the rails, Howie. Because he's acting in a way that's completely unstable. It is an issue of leadership and the culture of servant leadership. He is literally, we've gone 42 presidents since George Washington. He's literally the opposite of George Washington. When he looks at a news feed or a news search, he's focusing on the name Trump and not the name the United States of America. And so the guy has completely lost it. Moreover, as it relates to the culture of leadership inside the White House, the cabinet, the people that he's leading, he doesn't lead them. He thinks that his personal charm is going to fix the China situation or the North Korea situation, when in fact it's the very opposite. And so now we're in this perilous situation where he's blending racism into the leadership culture. And so for me, I'm a very... let me just finish for one more sentence.
One more sentence.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm just saying I'm a very loyal guy. Hogan pointed out that I was fired. No problem. I stayed loyal to him for 2 years. I broke gradually on several specific things. They're taking babies, 4-month-old babies, away from breastfeeding moms in ICE attacks. I mean, come on, guys. This is not the United States we grew up in.
Let me jump in, because some of your critics, especially on the left, are saying this. The president has used divisive language from the beginning, they believe, and they're saying you largely defended him. Yes, you were tough on certain issues, including on this program, including some of his harsher rhetoric against the press, but you largely defended him. You wrote a book largely praising him. And now they're saying, what took you so long?
I think it's a very justifiable criticism, and I'll have an editorial in the Washington Post this week that fully elucidates that. Frankly, I don't have enough time on your show to fully elucidate it, but here's what I would say to those people on the left. We recognize that the president is a clear and present danger to the American society, the American culture. There are many people inside the White House and in the cabinet. I would ask the left to let's create an off-ramp for those people, because when you're trying to deprogram people from a cult, one of the first things you have to do is allow them to change their mind, and you have to allow them to have the space to change their mind. So it was a very gradual process, and they can be very critical of me for that. I have frankly owned that, but trust me, there's a ton of people inside that White House, inside the government, up on Capitol Hill that feel the exact same way. And I would just caution those people on Capitol Hill, when their poll numbers start to go in the direction of the president's, I know they're intimidated by his bullying now, and I know they're intimidated by the force of his personality and his nonsense, but don't be. Because here's what happens. Once you beat up on a bully a little bit, they start to crack.
I know that you're saying that
let's just speak the truth now.
I know that you're saying you speak for some Republicans who aren't willing to say these things publicly, but look, you have been a very popular guy this week. You've been all over MSNBC and CNN. You sat down with Don Lemon, one of the premier Trump bashers on cable news. You were on MSNBC with Omarosa. Sean Spicer says your defection is, I'm quoting here, catnip for the left-wing media to go out and use somebody like you to create a controversy. Does he have a point?
Well, he has a point, and I think it's a very good talking point. But, you know, listen, people can see through the camera in their living rooms. That's not really my personality. I got brutally fired by the guy. If I was going to break from the guy, why wouldn't I have just broken right then and there? I tried to stay loyal to his agenda and his mission, and I'm also balanced today. I'm also pointing out there's a lot of things that he's done as it related to the economy that have been very helpful. The racial stuff has been very hurtful, and what I would say to Sean Spicer and others, ripping the social fabric of the country is a cancer. It's a metastatic cancer. Having a recession here or there, that's a bone break. We can survive it. But what he is doing and the way he is processing that, and I said it on your show a few weeks ago, I said, please stop doing that. It is un-American. It's not good for our country.
But when you say,
by the way,
hold on.
I need this sort of stuff like a hole in my head too. By the way, I'm looking at the country, my 5 children. I'm looking at where we are culturally.
I hear you, but I got to get another question.
Go ahead.
When you now say all of these things, you just called him a cult leader, which is pretty incendiary language. So were you just swallowing all this while you were largely, and you informally spoke to him sometimes, you were largely a defender on television, were you just sort of, I mean, did you have terrible judgment? Because now you're coming out and expecting all of us to believe the guy is a terrible leader, the guy who you supported.
I didn't really call him a cult leader. What I said is that
you said members of a cult
need to be people in cults need to be deprogrammed, and so therefore you have to create an off-ramp for them. But on this specific question, again, I'll say the exact same thing to you that I said 3 weeks ago so that you can see it's consistent. There is a lot of things that the president has done economically, delayering the administrative state, deregulation. The tax reform, by and large, has helped corporate America become more competitive. There's a lot of things that he has done. But as I said on this show 3 or 4 weeks ago, if he continues down the path of projecting racism to try to split the country, people like myself will break from him. So this is to me, it's been a gradual, painful process, frankly. And if you want to question my judgment, that's fine.
All right.
But 60% of the American people don't like what he's doing.
Which I've literally got 20 to 30 seconds. In terms of your, I wanted you to be able to respond to what Hogan Gidley said about people like you, when they see a moment, they can profit personally from turning on the president because it makes them a lot more popular with the rest of the media.
Right. Hogan Gidley has seen my S-86, which is my financial disclosure. I'm not interested in anything like that. What I'm interested in is real leadership and less division, and I think that's the most important thing for the country. So Hogan can say that. I get that. He's got a very tough job. I don't even take it personally. I'm sure he's terrorized in fear most of the day from dealing with the guy.
Let's not impute.
So I get it. It's fine.
Let's not impute motives to him, but I wanted to get both sides fair and balanced. Anthony Scaramucci, thanks for coming on.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Good to see you.
Thank you.